Good morning, Noodlers. This is Paul Romero.
Um,
Friday, Freedom Friday,
because I'm going to a baseball game.
March
Let's see if you can throw them in the car with your.
27th, 2015. Freedom Friday. That's why Hawaiian Shirt Day. Freedom Friday is the day that we just
Hey, let me call you back. That other hangout's about to
take the conversation wherever it is that we feel it needs to go. Our hangout earlier, we were talking about some time management things, the priority management, how important your time is in this world, and how time is what actually buys you happiness. And we had a little chat about that on our other hangout. We might take it this direction. We usually kind of go with a little bit of the similar concept when we do that one and this one, because realistically, whether you're in a network marketing business or whether you're in a wholesale real estate business or whether you're in your own business, the concepts of that we talk about here on Freedom Friday, the mindset concepts, the business building concepts, the whatever it is that we feel like talking about, concepts that go along with being successful in life and in your business, play a similar role in all of them. So yeah, that's why we if you're over there and you happen to see our Swiss School Global and you come over here and you happen to see our real estate, that you might find similar content on occasion. That's the reason why, because it really, the content that we deliver on Friday is universal. It goes with anything. It applies to you and you and you and you and you and everybody. So that's where we are. And good morning, John.
Good morning. Happy Friday. Yeah, as Paul said there, we kind of do hangouts at 8 o'clock for a network marketing business, and then we come on here at 8:30 to discuss wholesale real estate. And Friday's kind of a day, as Paul just said, that we devote and we call Freedom Friday, and we really devote our conversations and our topics on Fridays to personal development, business development, self-development, whatever you want to call it. But these are universal concepts that kind of are the underlying foundation of a successful person. We talk about habits and mindset and strategies for business that's going to work, I think, no matter what your business is, whether it's wholesale real estate, network marketing, if you're a general contractor, a paint contractor, if you own a restaurant, if you own a deli, what have you, if you're a franchise owner, because it's all about who you are as a person, the foundation, the blueprint, the mindset that you have, and your approach to life that really determines success. You could be handed the keys to the kingdom, let's say, but if you're not the right person, you're going to squander the riches of the kingdom, so to speak. If you don't have the right mindset and the right habits, it doesn't matter what opportunities are lying in front of you, you're not going to seize those opportunities. You're not going to follow through to bring those opportunities to fruition unless you're a person that has the right blueprint, the right mindset, the right attitude towards life and towards business. And what Paul and I were discussing this morning on our 8 o'clock hangout for our network marketing business was time management. And Paul brought up a fantastic concept about priority management being the foundation to building a time management system. Priority management. What are your priorities? And you are your number one priority, and your time is your number one commodity and your biggest priority. And when you subtract out the hours of the day that you spend just driving back and forth to work, when you subtract out the hours of the day you spend doing things for other people because you have to do them, like if you're parents out there know what I'm talking about, you're spending your time at work doing things that you have to do, whether a lot of things we do, we have to do them, like commuting and taking care of the kids. And when you subtract all those hours out, how much time do you really have left in your day? And then do you have the money to do what you would really like to be doing. So with that being said, it's like, how do we begin to take back our time? How do we begin to maybe even buy back some of our time? And that is with the first step is the realization and the awareness that you are your number one priority in life. Your time is your most precious commodity, and you got to sit down and really think about what's important to you, and given all the time in the world to do the things you really want to do, what would those things be? And now let's start developing a system so that you can start to do these things that you really want to do. But it all starts with priority and realizing and making a priority of the things you want to do.
Yeah, that's it right there. I mean, most people just don't place themselves at, as number one. And that's, you've got to realize that you are the most important thing in your life. I mean, without you, you don't have a life, period. So if you're not the most important thing in your life, how can you be giving anything of value to anyone else? Doesn't that make sense? You have to be the best you that you can be in order to deliver the best value to others that you think you're running around delivering right now, a half-assed value to people. Because if you're a half-assed person, you're delivering a half-assed value. That's the bottom line. It's you gotta love you. I mean, there's a lot of you guys are sports fans and whatnot, and you used to hear that Terrell Owens. A lot of people never liked Terrell Owens, wide receiver for 49ers and Cowboys and a couple other teams and whatnot, and he used to always say, a lot of times you would hear him saying, "I love me some me." And you might think that that's an arrogant statement or something like that, but that's the reality. That's how he got to be so good at what he does, because he loved him some him. He was able to put his whole heart into being the best him that he could be, and that's what propelled him to the top and excelled, in his career as a football player to become a superstar. And yeah, he might have been a little bit of an arrogant jerk. Not everybody has a pleasing personality. I mean, he probably could have done some work in some other areas of life besides just loving him some him and focusing on being the best that he could be in that area. But when you desire something, when you want to go after something, your life is going to be a little bit imbalanced, and you're going to have to have some shortcomings in some other areas in order to achieve what you really, really want. So, but you have to remember along the way to at least keep touch with those things, so that once you can achieve one thing that you really, really want in life, that you can fall back and say, okay, now hey, where's my next weakness at here, and what do I really, really want to fix and make better? And that goes back to what John was talking about being the right person. You ultimately want to have the most rounded sort of a life that you potentially can, but if you really want something, you have to put 100% focus into one thing at a time. And because we talked about multitasking the other day, and multitasking your life just as multitasking things that you're doing doesn't work. You really need to focus, put all your focus into one thing, at least for a short period of time, so that you can build progress in that area to take yourself to a position where you want to be. That and most people, one of the areas where they have a serious weakness that causes them to not have time and be unhappy and all those things and not be able to do anything is your financial world. And most people don't really put any time into, or any focus upon, or any desire and drive into increasing or improving or thinking about and figuring out new and better ways to enhance their financial world, other than work more hours or get another job. That's the bottom line. And there's 1,000 different ways that you can earn money and bring money in. And if people would take the time to spend a little bit of time thinking about, what are some other ways, learning about, getting some books, reading, how else could I be earning some money besides trading my time for it? There's a lot of ways out there. And then if you just pick one. They all work, and apply yourself. Wholesale real estate is one, and apply yourself to it and devote the time to it that it requires. Eventually, it'll turn around and produce a fruitful result for you, at which time it's going to be able to buy back all the time that you put in, plus more tenfold, and give you some time freedom that's going to allow you to then focus on some of the other areas that you always wanted to improve and get better upon as well too. So I just want to say that the whole priority management thing that John was talking about, not only just breaks down into tasks and things that you do in a daily life, and what are the important things, and what are the just sort of busy things that you're doing, but it also breaks down into the ultimate, what area, of my life, of the, say the four big areas: financial, spiritual, mental, physical, of those four key areas, where is your biggest problem first? What is your number one priority? And going, okay, well, you know what? I really need to focus on that first. I mean, maybe you're in such poor health right now and overweight that, who cares about your money situation right now, because you just might die waking up in the morning and getting out of bed tomorrow, and you need to focus on your physical world first of all. You know what I mean? Or you might think that you're a lunatic running around, have no idea, and you need to focus on your mental, thing. You have to look at, doing a little bit of each, and we talked about having coordinated times for at least giving yourself 1 hour a day to work on all four. But for the majority part of your day, obviously, you need to be working on, sort of one specific one.
Absolutely. I like what you just said there, Paul. I think it's important for people to sit down and think about themselves. Think about how you value yourself. What's your value? What would you like to ideally offer the world? What is your purpose in life? Is it to be working a 9 to 5? Is your purpose in life to work at a job, 9 to 5 job, that you don't like, that you dread getting up on Mondays for, and waiting all week for Friday so that you can go out on the weekend, kind of numb yourself to the fact that you hate 5 out of 7 days of your life because of going to this job you don't like, and spending your whole weekend dreading the end of the weekend? Well, what kind of life is that? And that's the life that, unfortunately, the majority of people, at least that I encounter on a daily basis, are living. And that's where, and that is because people don't make themselves a priority and think about what it is that they want out of life, what it is that they can do different to break that mold. You don't have to go out and get a job. In fact, the richest people in the world, the most successful business entrepreneurs in America today, didn't go to college. But yet, the majority of people out there think that in order to get a good job, and correct me if I'm wrong, there is no good job. Unless you love what you're doing, you're working for somebody else. You're selling your time to somebody else. What do you value yourself at? If you're someone that's working for $10 an hour, is that how you value your life? You think the hours of your day are worth $10 an hour, so you're worth $240 a day? Your life is worth $240 a day? I mean, think about how ridiculously cheap you're being bought. I mean, it's crazy. And, the statistic is, we always talk about Napoleon Hill on here, and there's a concept in his book, Think and Grow Rich, where he refers to the 2%. 2% of the people in this world will actually achieve a level of success where they are happy, they're positive, they have financial freedom, they have spiritual, physical, and mental freedom. That means 98% of the people out there are not happy and failing in life. And I don't disagree with those statistics in any way, shape, or form. Most, this might sound a little harsh, but most people are lemmings. They follow the herd, and they're following the herd off a cliff. You don't want to be one of those people. I don't want to be one of those people, and we're not those people. That's why we're on this hangout, because we're conscious that that's what's going on in the world out there. There's another guy named Earl Nightingale, and actually he's a little bit more optimistic in his thinking because he talks about 95%. But the truth of the matter is 95% of people that are in today's marketplace working, I guess you can, in today's job market, 95% of the people out there will never ever be able to retire. And when they do become a retirement age and collect Social Security, is that going to pay for them to live any kind of a significant life? I mean, anyone I know that collects Social Security as their sole income is living in poverty because it doesn't pay for anything but to live in poverty. So think about that. You know, if you're a young person like myself, I'm only 37. Shit, I wish I was thinking this way back when I was 22, 23. But guess what? There's no time like the present. And you got to start thinking about, you know, you got to live in the moment, but you got to consider the future in the moment of what am I doing today that I'm enjoying building a future. I don't want to be working at a job I hate till the day I die, and then when I do finally retire on Social Security, I have less money to live off of than when I was working the job I hated. 95% of the people in this country will be in that position when they become of retirement age. And there are a lot of things available out there. Wholesale real estate just happens to be one of them that can offer people an alternative to that. And one of the fantastic things about wholesale real estate is you learn about investing. You learn about the value of the dollar. You learn about how to maximize other people's money and use leverage to build wealth. You learn about passive income. That's money that's coming in whether or not you get up and go to work every day. You learn so many of these things when you embark on the journey of learning about real estate that you're not going to learn at your 9-to-5 job. You're not going to learn in college. You're not going to learn in school. And that's what's so awesome about this. Is just one of hundreds of available vehicles out there, if you will, that anybody could, literally, I believe that anybody can do what Paul and I are doing. If you saw us 3 years ago, you would be convinced, too, that anybody can be doing what we're doing. And the point I'm just trying to drive home is don't let your lack of experience or lack of know-how stop you from picking up the phone or sending an email to two Joe Schmoes who happen to have figured out a way to break free of the mold that and the conformity that 95%, 98%, depending on who you want to listen to, are following along.
Yeah, I would say, I'm going to break that down. You were talking about the 95% of Earl Nightingale's thing and the 98% of Napoleon Hill. I would say, I would probably, in my own conception, agree with 100% that the numbers are askew. I would say that the 95% of the people are probably going to die with less than $1,000 in their bank account. Of the 5% that Earl Nightingale talks about, I would say that it's probably a little bit more. I would say it's changed maybe from before. I don't know because there's so many people on the planet today, but I would say it's probably changed to like 4% are living fulfilled lives. They're still working probably. They have bank accounts and retirements and that sort of thing, but they're probably still working just to sort of maintain things, but they love what they do. So that's why they're still working. It's because they're not working because they really have to. They're working because what they do brings them pleasure, and so they're still out there doing it. Not that they have to be out there doing it in order to have money coming in. Okay? And then the final 1% that's left over is the people who really truly have 100% financial freedom, and they can have so much money that they don't have to do anything that they don't want to be doing any time of the day or night. And, if you're in that 95%, which obviously 95% of you are, that is going to probably leave this planet with less than $1,000 in your bank account, what's in your bank account right now? Are you on track for that? what do you have as a plan to redirect that? As John said, he wishes he was thinking this way and working on these types of things back when he was 27. I would love to have been too. But you know what? This is a great quote. You can't go back. You can't. Nobody can ever go back and start a new beginning. But anyone can start today and create a new ending. You can make a choice today to change your future. You can't do nothing about the past except cry about it, whine about it, complain, blame, and justify it. Okay, that's the only thing you can do about the past. There's nothing within that that you can change. It's over, it's done, it's gone. Starting today, right now, at this very minute, you can make a conscious decision to change your future. And all you have to do is make that decision and stick to it. And go out there and find the information that you need, find the help that you need, find the mentors that you need, choose the direction you want to go, and just freaking go. That's all you got to do. I mean, it's really just that simple, and you can take yourself out of the 95%, at least into the 5% category, and you know what? The more people we can get into the 5% category, the happier this world is going to be again.
Absolutely. It all comes down to this, this concept now about, and I'm going to relate this in, I was thinking of the words sustainability and renewable when Paul was talking there. We hear about renewable energy. We've got to get off oil, right? We've got to figure out a way to use solar and wind power and water to generate energy because it's renewable, it's sustainable. It can, the sun's not. One day the star will explode, but I'm talking about today. There's nothing in the foreseeable future to say the sun's going to stop shining and providing solar energy. There's nothing in the foreseeable future that says the wind is going to stop blowing to create sustainable, renewable wind energy. And there's nothing in the immediate future to say rivers are going to suddenly stop flowing to create a renewable, sustainable energy, right? So the big thing and the big trend nowadays we hear about is this green energy, this sustainable, renewable sources of energy. And it makes sense. It would save us money. It would help to keep the planet cleaner. It would end wars in the Middle East because we wouldn't be reliant on Arab oil, all these things. So it's a great idea. Why don't we apply the idea of renewable and sustainable to our work life? A sustainable work life, meaning I'm working today because it's securing me a future. What I'm doing today isn't only earning me an income for today, but it's building a passive income stream for the future. A sustainable life, a sustainable work life, and I think, we used to kind of have a system like that back in the day, and this has really died out purposely, and we can get into this conversation at another hangout with the death of the pension plan. People went to, 40 years ago, people went to work 40, 50 years ago, and they called it cradle to grave. I went out, I got a job. I was going to work there from 22 to 65. I was going to retire. I was going to have my Social Security. I was going to have my pension. I was going to have my stock options. Then they came out with this idea of the 401k and replaced pension plans. 401k, this isn't the right time for this discussion, but it's a scam, people. It's not a good, viable, renewable, sustainable, dependable retirement plan.
It's the next pull the rug out from under your retirement. It's the next.
They pulled the rug out from your retirement plan. They did this in the late 70s, early 80s. So that idea that you're going to get the job that's going to carry you cradle to grave, it's been over and done with for 30 years, and it's only now that people are waking up and realizing this purposefully. And that's a topic for another hangout. The point I'm trying to make is that if you don't do something on your own today to create a sustainable living where you're engaged actively in a business or a job that's going to give you some sort of residual income at some point in the future, you're just selling off the hours of your day. And at the end of the day, you have nothing but a one-time paycheck to show for that. And that is what Paul's got me thinking about with this 95, in our conversation with 95%, 5%, is that we've got to start a sustainable living revolution. Like, get the idea out there that people should be working every day to building income streams that are passive and not just focusing on the earned hourly income or flipping one property and making 10 grand, and we're so happy because we made 10 grand. But guess what? The property's flipped, you have the 10 grand, when the 10 grand gone, it's gone. It's never coming to you again. And that's where I think we need to take this idea of sustainability and renewability, not just in the realm of energy on the planet, but to our own personal lives and to our own pocketbooks.
Exactly. So I like that. I like that concept of applying sustainability and renewability to your work life, to your business life, to your financial life, because it is something that we don't, to most people, sustainability means I have my job again next week. That's sustainability to most people, and and renewable. We don't even think about renewable. I guess what's renewable? Being able to cash that check every Friday. Boom. I renewed my bank account.
No, I just want to point this out. I'll toss it right back over to you. Renewable, subscription-based website. If you're an affiliate marketer and you're signing people up for a membership website, that income's renewable every month that person renews their website, renews their membership. You're getting a paycheck.
Yeah, exactly.
Just throw that out there. That's just another vehicle, affiliate marketing.
Right. Yeah. I was just saying that what most people probably think, if you threw out how would you apply the terms sustainable and renewable to your financial plan and world right now, and most people, like I said, would probably say, well, sustainable is the fact that I have a good job that I feel very secure in. And renewable is probably, I guess, the fact that I do get a paycheck every Friday and able to renew my bank account. I mean, that's probably the extent of what most people would apply to those two words, in thinking about their financial world. And like you talked about, sustainability in having something building something that's going to be there with or without you, and renewable in the fact that it's going to continue to pay you whether or not you're doing anything or not. That's a cool concept to me. So we're about we're about out of time here. So I would just like to say, rolling all of this back into wholesale real estate. John talked about the fact that hey, you flip a house, you make 10 grand, boom. You don't flip a house next month, you ain't got 10 grand. What are you gonna do? There's a whole lot of different concepts with real estate, as most people know. It's one of the last bastions of potentiality for people to invest money into something that's going to produce a residual income in rental real estate, where you have a renter paying your mortgage, because you took out a loan, you put some down payment down, you took out a loan, and you have a renter paying you X amount of dollars, which pays the loan payment every month, plus puts a little bit of money in your pocket. It is a great way to go, but it is, it's been manipulated over the years, just like everything else, and we could go into a couple of conversations you brought up there, John, about what used to be and what is now. But the whole idea of where the loans are and how much money you have to put down, I mean, you don't think somebody sat back and thought about this? It's basically set up to where you have to be in debt, with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and have this property that you have to work and manage in order to get, a 6% return on, your money, that is, or 6% sort of cash flow, which, 100 to 150 bucks a month. I mean, it's a nice little piece. It's a great little piece. It's a great starting area. But you have to come up with so much money. You got to have a down payment in order to get into this. You know, if you had $20,000 to put down on a $100,000 house, and you could generate out of that, but with only $20,000, you could generate out of that, you know, $100 or $200 a month income. That's a lot of money, and that's not a huge return on your money. You know what I mean? There's other ways. There's a lot of other ways that you can put your money into things, and get and develop and put very little or put no money in or very little money in. Just put your time and effort in. That's going to, you know, create for you different avenues. So I'm not saying, I'm not poo-pooing, you know, investing in real estate as a tenant, as a tenant owner, whatever. But you know, it's just, it's not the only thing out there. And like the stocks and bonds and all of that stuff that's supposed to be paying all these great dividends and whatnot, that's not the only thing that's out there. Which those two things right there are pretty much what the 95% know of and are able to try to do something with. And those, like John said, I mean, I'll go right along the line with almost scams in the fact that, you know, the numbers are already figured out. I mean, why do you think the stock market crashes and the housing bubbles crash and the dot-coms crash and the savings and loan scandals crash, and why all these things happen about every generation? Because it's the gold watch dangled in front of you for 40 years, and then you get to your retirement, and it's, you know, like, you know, 10 days before you, or a year before you're going to retire, and you get fired. You know, there is no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow unless you're building it yourself. Take us on, John, and cancel us out of here.
All right. Well, I think that's a good way to end it with what Paul said. There is no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow unless you personally work towards filling that pot with the gold. So with that being said, I ask the universe not for more riches, but for more wisdom with which to make better use of the riches given to me at birth, through the power to control and direct my own mind to whatever ends I may desire. And I desire a big pot of gold at the end of my rainbow, so I'm going to go out and fill that sucker. So